Camera is off.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
We know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
And welcome. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast begins right now. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Here we are, Sunday.
Sunday.
Got here quick.
Fired up. You ready to rock and roll? I'm ready to rock and roll. Good heavens. Sunday's going to be fun. We got a lot to talk about. FBI and Cash Patel, not to be the least of the conversations tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome inside the Monster Cast studios, the Car Firearms Group studios with me, to be exact, here in front of the Sig Sauer microphone. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center and Ranch, and it's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance. Greg in Dallas, Texas, we're on a lot of different platforms. I'll turn it over to you, where people can view the show live on multiple streaming platforms and also participate in the chat over at Telegram, and I'll flip it to you, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, we're all over the place. You can head on over to YouTube or Rumble and look for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can go to X and look for AAR Mark. Over on Fascist Book, Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, and armedamericanradio.org or .com. On the right-hand side of that website, you're going to see the menu icon. Just give that a click. And when that window opens up, you can select that Watch Live option. If you're driving, hit that Listen Live link. And if you missed any previous episode of this program, just head on over to the podcast link. If you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is head on over to your app store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, thanks for that, Greg. I want to keep you on the mic for just a second, Greg, because something that you and I talked about a number of times over the last, I don't know, really since November, right. I guess more so than not. Cash Patel confirmed at the FBI.
Finally.
And the news breaks over the weekend that he is going to be acting director of the ATF as well. Now, we talked about what a beautiful thing that would be, wouldn't it? Can you imagine if Cash had it all?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I don't think I recall ever a time where this person has held both roles.
Not that I can remember, but this is significant, ladies and gentlemen, for a lot of different reasons. Let's just say I got a couple phone calls over the weekend telling me that this was likely in the works, and lo and behold, it is, and it's happened. So I sit back and I thought about this over the weekend. What does that mean for the future of the ATF? Because, look, I think, Greg, you believe, as I believe, that heads are going to begin rolling over at FBI. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I think we've had this conversation before that essentially the ATF could probably be rolled into the FBI and just be done away with.
Just get rid of them, right?
Yep.
Now, we've talked about Matt Gaetz, what he would have done with the FBI, Marjorie Taylor Greene wants the FBI gone. There's a lot of folks in Washington that want the ATF gone. Did I say FBI? ATF?
You did.
Okay,
Yep.
So let me correct myself. ATF. See, I caught that, though. Little
The AFT.
The AFT. There you go. Thank you for that. What's his name? That's old Joe Biden. Remember him?
That's Loser Joe and
He doesn't
his
remember
history.
Okay, the bottom line is that with Cash running the ATF, I don't even know what to guess right now, but we're going to talk about it with our guest lineup throughout the evening. So let me throw the guest lineup at you real quick, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be talking with Adam Kraut, the executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation. He's also a practicing attorney. We'll go to Adam in just a moment. He's filling in for Alan Gottlieb today, who is at the Iowa show in Germany with a lot of our friends. At the bottom of this hour, we'll be talking with AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. He will be heading to Germany, I believe, on Wednesday. At the top of the next hour, we'll be talking with Max Brooks, Colorado State Representative, and Amanda Harden from Lipstick Tactical. The shenanigans going on in Colorado are getting worse by the minute, and we're going to cover that with a state rep who is also putting forth some legislation to try to help counter some of the nonsense going on over there. We'll discuss all of that. And, of course, we've got Brad, we've got Neil, and we've got Justin for a classic Armed American Radio roundtable. So buckle in. The hours fly by. I'm going to warn you in advance. Let's go right to the phones. Adam Kraut, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation, and my good friend Adam. How the heck are you today? Welcome in, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How you feeling? How you feeling? You sound like you got a cold.
A little run down. Yeah, I caught whatever's going around.
Well, I knew you were sick when I talked to you earlier, and I really appreciate you taking time out, and I know my listeners do as well. So, Adam, let's start with the FBI. This is a big deal. Now, how big of a deal this is going to be remains to be seen. I'm an optimist and a lot of wishful thinking here. I'd love to see the ATF just gone. Now, I know Cash is going to make a lot of changes at the FBI. I've had him on the program before. I've talked to him personally, so I feel really comfortable with that. Have you ever seen anywhere? Greg made the comment that I don't think we've ever seen anybody hold both of these roles. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? I don't recall it in my lifetime. I could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong, and you certainly have a few more years than I, so your recollection on this might be better than mine, but I'm unaware of where this is, there's been an actual confirmed director of one agency and stepping in as an acting director of another agency.
How do you think that's going to shake out? When you heard this news, what went through Adam Kraut's mind? What were you thinking?
I was thinking that it was an interesting thing. If you watch Fox News, and I saw there was a clip the other day of Bondi with the termination of the general counsel over at ATF.
Right.
At ATF, she had made the comment that they were targeting law-abiding gun owners. So I guess, in the interim with no other leader in the field, I'm guessing from the administration as far as who they would put in charge of ATF, Cash Patel makes a whole lot of sense given that he's wrangling up FBI, which, for years has never had a good reputation since the start, going back to Hoover.
That's a fact. Do you believe we could be seeing, is the ATF on its deathbed right now with this?
I don't think so. So, I mean, you have Bovard who introduced legislation to abolish the ATF. But when I looked at that bill on GovTrack, it had like a 2% chance of passing. One of the other things that I think is important to note is that, even if you abolish the agency, the regulatory scheme that they, see over still exists, and somebody's going to have to do that. And, since ATF is under DOJ, that would put it squarely potentially in FBI's territory. There's another little nuance, too, that, all the funding, they're part of the law, and I saw this the other day, that all the funding and stuff for ATF can't just be transferred to another agency, on a whim. So I don't think the agency's going anywhere. Now, whether or not it's going to be stripped down, rebuilt, or reprioritized, enforcement against actual criminals versus, law-abiding gun owners and the whole regulatory scheme against targeting FFLs for mistakes rather than malicious, non-compliance with the regulations and law, that remains to be seen. But given what the plan is for FBI, I would not be surprised if some of that is implemented on the ATF side in the interim here.
Well, I guess it's safe to say that you would probably agree with me that we both believe or feel that the ATF is finally going to get reined in. Safe bet?
I think during this administration, you probably will see that, particularly given, this, again, looking at the plans for FBI and how FBI ran wild the last 4 years and even before that, and everything that's coming out of the administration from a verbal cue. But, clearly the proof will be in the pudding and through action.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. This is just going to be fun. Are you getting tired of seeing all these fun things happen over the last month? I mean, it's been a roller coaster, hasn't it? I mean, Trump has absolutely been on a roll, and I think if gun owners had any concerns right out of the gate, it likely would have been Pam Bondi, and it might have been, well, it took 2 weeks to do something with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I mean, outside of shutting down the website. And now with Cash being confirmed, now with moves with the ATF, I think we're off to a really big start. But does that come back and bite us in the long run as an industry? Because complacency is one of my biggest fears.
Well, so there is, obviously the threat of complacency, but I think what gun owners are in for, at least at the federal level, for the next 4 years, from an administrative standpoint, ignoring Congress, and I don't think there's a vote in Congress for anything to happen as far as overriding a veto. I think for the next 4 years at the federal level, you're not going to have an all-out war waged on law-abiding gun owners at all. However, blue states are still going to do blue state things. You mentioned Colorado earlier. They're still marching through with, a revised version of their assault weapons ban. If, and we'll talk about this, I suspect, later, but if the Supreme Court takes a case that's before it, you'll see the same thing post that decision, assuming it's favorable to gun owners of blue states finding ways to work their way around whatever the Supreme Court says. So there's no time to be complacent, but I think from the federal angle, it's probably safer now than it was the last 4 years for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk throughout the program of why we can't relax. Adam just touched on a little bit of it. Statewide is the biggest deal. When we come back, I'm going to take Adam to the SCOTUS, Supreme Court. What happened on Friday, and what does it mean coming up this week and for the future of gun bans? We'll be right back. Following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back indeed. If you're watching on any platform, this is a Patriot Mobile phone. And it's actually an iPhone 15 or Pro or whatever that stupid thing is. I hate them, but we have to have them today. If you're going to have service, why not have Patriot Mobile service? Patriot Mobile believes in everything you believe in and supports your gun rights. Good conservative company, good conservative causes, and they're a great supporter of Armed American Radio. We're here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR. And when you sign up over there at Patriot Mobile and flip a line or all of your lines, whichever ones you choose to do, you'll get a month of free service. That's a beautiful thing. It's better than the free activation. So check it out at patriotmobile.com. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom here in front of the 6 Hour mic. It's all brought to you by X Insurance. And as I mentioned previously, we are in the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Let's go back to Adam Kraut, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation. And Adam, I just want to point out that while you and I were talking, I got a text message from the great Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, who just wanted to tell you and all of our listeners he misses us this week. He's there for the IWA show in Germany, and he's looking forward to coming back and rejoining the program. So, Adam, welcome back. Great to have you here.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
SCOTUS.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, it's always fun to have you.
Yes.
SCOTUS, Snopes case. Ooh, now I got to get your take on this. I know it's impossible to get into the minds of the justices. However, there are patterns that we see develop over years. Now, this case has been bouncing around, as you know. Listeners, you've heard us talk about this a lot, but there was more movement. If you're just getting caught up on this, the Supreme Court distributed that case last week for conference again just 2 days ago on Friday. Alan mentioned to us it was a little bit unusual this late in the term to do that. What's your take on this now that they've done this, and what's your gut feel here going forward? Then I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, you want me to guess what the Supreme Court's going to do? I hope you have a crystal ball available so I can play the lottery as well. Yeah, so, I mean, everybody who says they know what the court's going to do is full of it. At best, you can look at statistics of how cases have been treated in the past. And I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. So this has been distributed for conference for 4 times now. Typically, when it's relisted once, it's definitely not, going to be the nail in the coffin for the case. However, once you get past that first relist, the odds for cert grants start dropping drastically. The question becomes, what are they going to do with the case? Well, right now, if they decide to do anything, it's going to be for the following term, not this current one, but the next term. So that means either one of two things is going to happen. Or you're going to give a cert grant for the following term, they're going to deny it outright, or they're going to deny it with a dissent. And I don't see, if ultimately it's denied, I don't see how you don't get any kind of dissent on it. And the other thing worth mentioning is that not only was Snope, the SAF's challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban, relisted, there was also a case, Ocean State Tactical, that deals with magazine capacity challenge coming out of Rhode Island. And the interesting thing about that is that's up on the denial of a preliminary injunction. And the court has not treated cases that are coming up in that procedural posture with any kind of real desire to take them. So the fact that it keeps getting relisted and wasn't outright denied is a very interesting thing that I don't know what to make of.
Yeah, I don't either, but I'm going to tell you, I feel good about it. And let's talk about the denial with the dissent. Big deal. What difference does that make? Okay, so you've got a dissenting opinion. They've denied the case. Big deal. So we're right back to what? Having to rely on another case coming up behind it when this case checks all the boxes. Now, yeah, I mean, this case does. It checks every single box. This is the case we need to have.
It does check the boxes, and I think this case is uniquely positioned relative to the other ones. The only difference is this one did not go through a trial with fact-finding at the district court, but this case went up prior to Bruin. It was GVR post-Bruin. It has now an en banc Fourth Circuit opinion, and for your listeners that don't recall, en banc means the court as a whole as opposed to a 3-judge panel. The entire Fourth Circuit weighed in on this, and once again, much like they did in Colby, the first challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban, they made up their own test. That doesn't follow the Supreme Court's precedent.
Which puts this case on a little bit better footing.
Yes, I think so.
Do you believe we'll get a response from the conference tomorrow? We usually get them on Monday. maybe latest Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, the order list comes out 9:30 tomorrow morning, so we're going to be watching that like a bunch of hawks to see whether or not there's anything on that list.
So there's no possibility that we get it late in this term. It will be guaranteed for the next term, correct?
Yeah, that was my understanding of everything, correct.
Okay. It never happens
Better
fast
late
enough.
than never.
Better late than never. It never happens fast enough. It never happens fast enough. I think what makes me a little giddy about this case, what I like about it, is the fact that it's already been GVR'd once, and it keeps coming back up without denial. They've had multiple opportunities to deny this. My guess is that there's a justice that maybe Thomas or Alito or any of the other four, even if they have four, might be a little bit leery of how they might or they think they might vote in this. And again, that's trying to get into the heads of the courts, which is impossible to do. We'll never know the answer to that unless somebody sings like a bird at some point down the road. But that likely will not happen. But I'm hopeful that we get positive news tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. We will likely have an answer on this tomorrow, and that will no doubt be the topic of conversation. The reason I want to spend some time on that is because this puts to bed, we talked about Colorado briefly. You've got Colorado, and let me not forget Minnesota as well. And I got a note from somebody today that said, Mark, when you're on today, please talk about Minnesota. There's a very similar bill to do the same thing that would basically wipe out all semi-automatics in the state of Minnesota. This puts that to bed, does it not? If we get a victory.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would stop these bills from being passed and deal with all the ones that are currently law in places like California and New Jersey and New York and all the other assault weapons ban challenges we have across the country. However, I think what you see with Colorado, how they revised and amended their assault weapons ban bill to get their governor on board with it, I suspect that's going to be the playbook moving forward if the Supreme Court takes note. And here's the reason why. We saw Bruin where, carry must be allowed and there's no more subjective tests that you can do to issue permits. However, all those states looked and went, cool, that's fine. Everything's now a sensitive place. So they're just going to find different ways to frustrate it. And I suspect the next avenue will be, okay, that's fine. These are lawful, but you need a permit. And the process will be the punishment for it.
Oh, a permit. Okay. Yeah. They're going to snub their nose at the court, ladies and gentlemen, regardless. It's that simple. They've proven that time and time again. Let's move now to the 18 to 20-year-olds, the Massachusetts case. I haven't had a chance to talk with you about this yet, but the Second Amendment Foundation did, in fact, file. Now, we've had 6 of those cases in the past, 6 or 7. You've only got 30 seconds. How do you feel about that case in Massachusetts? Do we eventually get one of these to Supreme Court?
Well, we got one sitting at the Supreme Court right now on a cert petition from Minnesota. The Minnesota lost their 18 to 20 carry challenge. They lost it through the district court and the circuit court. It was denied an en banc rehearing, so they're asking the Supreme Court to take it, and we're actually asking the Supreme Court, grant cert. Let's decide this issue because we know we're right. So we're hopeful that the court will take that issue up as well.
Adam Kraut, Executive Director, Second Amendment Foundation. Love you, brother. Always fun to have you here. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. Get to some medicine, get to bed, and start feeling better. I know you have a busy day tomorrow. It never stops. That's Adam Kraut, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation. When we come back, AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. Don't go away. Lots to cover with AWR and with you. We'll see you in a second.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
I'll welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom here in front of the 6-hour microphone at this Patriot Mobile Command Center. X Insurance is bringing it all to you. We love all of our partners. Please go out of your way to support them all. I slathered on, Greg, this morning a ton of the Patriots Relief Emu CBD oil on the on the arms today. This stuff works like crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have trouble sleeping, if you have some pain, you need some relief in the mornings when you get up and start your day. It just is. You get up, get a little older, you wake up, you go, getting old sucks, okay? You feel it. This stuff works. It works for me. It will likely work for you. Make sure to check it out. Patriots Relief. Use the promo code AAR, and I think the percentage is about 40% off over there. And again, you can find all of our great partners, including Barrel Buddy, barrelbuddy.com, over at armedamericanradio.com. So as we wait for AWR Hawkins to call in, he's busy. He's always writing something over there for Breitbart, and he is on deadlines like nobody's business, Greg. So I want to take you back to some of what you heard before we get a call from him about the SCOTUS case and the FBI with Cash Patel. I've really been looking forward to talking with you, believe it or not, about Cash Patel being tagged at ATF. You hate the ATF as much as I do, as much as anybody I've ever met. How do you think this shakes out going forward with him running both organizations?
I think one of them ends up being dissolved. Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene have introduced legislation in sessions past to dissolve the ATF. So I don't see why this is going to be such a hard problem to solve, because it was created as, I believe, an executive order, and so there's really no legitimacy for it.
Well, we have HR.
It's run its course.
We have it has run its course. We have. I could argue it should have never been on course to begin with, but
sure,
it's there, so it's what we've had to deal with. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and wishes don't get anything done. HR 221, which is Eric Burleson, Republican out of Missouri, it's his bill, would abolish the ATF. And back just yesterday, he put a tweet out. HR 221, X, formerly known as Twitter, whatever. HR 221 will abolish the ATF. It's that simple. Eliminate this redundant agency that consistently violates Second Amendment rights. Is there any circumstance where you can see, and listeners, I'm asking Greg this, I'm asking you this collectively, that you can see the ATF doing anything but infringing on your right to keep and bear arms? I can come up with absolutely zero scenario. Everything that they are tasked with doing, or has been anyway, has been infringing on your rights as a law-abiding citizen. And I would like you to correct me if I'm wrong, Greg.
No, I
don't believe
that.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. You know, I don't even know what they thought they could do when they bundled it with like alcohol and tobacco, lawful products, and then said, oh, well, we got to throw those scary explosives in there too, because, we've just got mad bombers running around every other day, right? So they took two legal products, and then they took a constitutional right, wrapped them all into a bundle of regulation, and said, hey, this is going to be a new agency. We're going to be able to make a lot of money off of asset forfeiture, and we were going to make a lot of money off of sending people to jail, and we're going to make a lot of money off of being able to make more criminals out of citizens, and we're going to be able to strip rights from people with this. And they're not going to be able to enjoy their Second Amendment right that is granted to them in the Constitution. And we are going to find a way to unconstitutionally strip this away, and no one's going to say anything about it. And that's what's happened for far too long, and people are saying things about it. Fortunately, Cash Patel is of the generation that's pretty much my age, that we look at government agencies just as some of the worst things that exist, and we see them as, hey, this is expendable. If they can look at American citizens and say, we've got to remove this president, we're going to use a pandemic in order to do that, and your businesses are expendable until we have the power and we have our way, and we are able to manipulate people to vote against their best interests and install a puppet like Joe Biden 4 or 5 years ago, well, then now it's time for payback. And the ATF is going to feel a little bit of that because, hey, they are unconstitutional, I think, as we've already stated several times. And it's just time that the fat gets trimmed. And we can move some of this. And essentially, why move anything over to the FBI? Just do away with the legislation that the ATF pushes.
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to be that easy. I think it would be easier to roll some of it in the effort to get rid of the ATF. It might make it a little bit simpler to do that. I don't, how many bureaucrats are working there? I have utterly no clue.
Too many.
There's far too many there.
One is too many.
Yeah, well, as far as the ATF is concerned, yeah. So if Patel comes in as acting director of ATF, which he is, it will be very interesting to see. I'm thinking 30, 60, 90 days down the road. Is Cash going to have enough time really want to play in the sandbox with ATF when he's got the FBI to worry about?
I think he can multitask. And
he can multitask. But how much time is he going to want to spend on what he already knows is a rogue-ass agency? He already knows that.
Well, and I've seen him on several podcasts, and he already knows that the NFA is unconstitutional and that a lot of the gun control provisions that have been snuck into our legislation are unconstitutional. And so we'll see how he goes down the road here, like you said, in 30, 60, and 90 days and see what it looks like when he starts targeting, targeting legislation, for example, maybe short barrel rifles or shotguns, or maybe the Hearing Protection Act and suppressors, and removing those from the NFA. So there's options here, and I think it just depends on what he wakes up feeling like that day.
Well, obviously he can't do that unilaterally. There has to be legislation moving forward. What's more of a concern with ATF is the regulatory abuse that the ATF has been involved in with their rulemaking process, which is clearly unconstitutional. That the ATF can come in as a quote-unquote law enforcement agency, change the rules of the game in mid-game, at the half, if you will. You want to use that analogy. The end of the quarter, whatever it is. Pick a sport. Doesn't matter. Change the rules, convert you into a criminal with no congressional action whatsoever, and then be the body that enforces that and jails you. Again, there's no possible way the ATF can work. I don't want you to think about this. What's the ATF going to do? Do we need the ATF when it comes to gang violence? Do we need the ATF when it comes to firearms trafficking, illegal trafficking of firearms between gangs, et cetera?
No, they traffic those.
Well, you're talking about the agency that ran the biggest trafficking operation we still don't have a body count. And we're talking about Fast and Furious.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is there any way the ATF were they going to show up at your door and say what? I'm reminded of a photograph. I saw it was a meme. But a legit photograph of about 40 or 50 guns laying out on what looked like a large carpet roll in front of a warehouse building. 3 ATF agents standing around with their backs to the camera, the cameraman behind them playing theater of the mind with you. And they had their little really cool jackets with ATF on the back. And the meme was, that's a lot of Second Amendment firepower. And then the other bubble above the other's agent was, let's infringe on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because they always turn you into a criminal. So it is going to be a fascinating, again, 30, 60, 90 days. I don't know how fast Cash is going to be able to move on ATF. Something tells me he's likely going to focus a little bit more on FBI, but we might even see movement at the ATF quicker. Hey, ATF, completely stand down right now. I'll get to you later. You'll still get paid for now, but stand down. In knowing Cash, I have I call it a very informed opinion that I think you're going to see the abuse from ATF that was ongoing right up until just last week come to a screeching halt. I could be wrong about that. It is just a gut feeling, but I don't think I'm wrong about that. We will wait and see. It will be a fascinating next several months, as it has been already in Trump's first 30 days. Been a remarkable month. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues after the break. We'll see if we can get AWR on the line with you. If not, we'll cover some of his work. Don't go away. Camera's on.
It's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
And we are back. Welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, on hundreds of radio stations across the nation right now, filling your prescription for freedom here in front of the 6-hour microphone. Make sure to go visit all of our partners that make this show possible. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Need some pillows? Need some flannel sheets, need some cool stuff? My Pillow has you covered. Great discounts over there. Just visit armedamericanradio.com/AAR. It populates for you. I don't care where you see the ad, whatever deals he's got running, you can go right there and pick them up. Use the AAR promo code. The difference is you say thank you for supporting my gun rights for well over a decade on Armed American Radio. Make sure to check out all of our partners, heavensharvest.com, NorthAmericanArms.com. We'll have a guest appearance from North American Arms next week on the program, and also BarrelBuddy.com and EmersonKnives.com. You can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Let's go to the phones. We've got AWR Hawkins on the line from Breitbart News. AWR, how you doing, brother? We were just, Greg and I, talking about FBI, Cash Patel, and ATF, and I'd really like to get your thoughts on that before we move on.
I love it. I love the idea that he will also do the ATF because, you know, it's going to keep it in check. And, Cash Patel is that rare breed.
He is.
Kind of a George Washington type. He doesn't aspire to a monarchy or more power than he's supposed to have. And to have him at the helm of the ATF at this moment would be remarkable.
How fast do you think he will work? That was a topic of conversation in the last break while we were waiting for you to call in. You know, the next 30, 60, 90 days are going to be huge. How quick do you think he's going to move on ATF? What do you think he's got planned? Any idea?
Well, he's a one-off. There's no one else like him. So the speed with which he could work It's almost unpredictable. I don't know, but it's going to be a high rate of speed at which he would work to undo all the mess that Stephen Dettelbach did.
And it's a mess, and it runs deep. I don't even believe we know how deep it runs. Let's go to a happy ending story, because I love this. This headline, this is one of those headlines that just jumps out at you, ladies and gentlemen. Cashier shoots alleged armed robber in Michigan donut store. Is a donut store, I must be a happening donut store if you're going to go in and rob a donut store. I mean, I wouldn't know that would be the cash cow if I'm a criminal to go to the donut store. Maybe the donut store is always packed and there's a lot of cash there, but what happened?
I don't know. I will start by saying jelly donut with the raspberry filling. That's my favorite. And so what I would hope happened is that the guy pulled a gun, as he did. He pulled a gun on the cashier pulled a gun, and that was the end of that. And then I'm next in line, and I get 2 jellies with raspberry filling before the cops show up and shut everything down. That's how I hope it would work. But in reality, what happened is the guy pulled a gun on the cashier shot him. The guy was able to get to his car, was able to leave the parking lot, but he didn't make it much further before he crashed, and then soon thereafter he died. That's how it goes. And that's how it should have gone. And, you pull a gun on somebody, you got to be ready for what's coming.
Do you like your jelly donuts with the raspberry filling? Do you like that with powder or not?
Yes.
Ooh, powdered.
Oh, my. Yes. Oh. I mean, like, literally, if I could be next in line, the cashier shoots the guy. I'm like, hey, look, I know you got to call the police, do all this, but can I get 2 of those real quick before that happens, and a cup of coffee? And that would be perfect. Because this kid, the guy you just shot, he's done anyway. Could I have his donuts, too? Because he might have had, for all I know, those crispy, twisty ones with the cinnamon and sugar on them. So I could get those and the jelly donuts that I love. What a day that would be.
It's just a happy ending story all the way around. Not so much so. Say again, Greg?
Dead man donuts?
Dead man donuts. Okay, we'll move on from that. 3 dead. That was not a real happy ending story in Louisville, Kentucky, but 3 were shot dead. Suspect is still at large, AWR in Louisville. What do we know?
Yeah, but if you read the reports, it doesn't appear it was a suspect. It appears it was suspects. Okay. And witnesses said that they came up on 3 people in particular, shot them, and that even after they were on the ground, they kept shooting. And you and I talked about this off the air. This appears to kind of be a targeted. I don't know if we could say gang-related. To me, it read like gang-related. Doesn't mean that's what it is, but at least targeted. And so this is not something that Giffords can push out as another quote-unquote mass shooting or public whatever.
They will anyway.
This is more like, I don't know, they will anyway. But, yes, this appears to be a very targeted event.
Which many of them are. And they tend to use that for their advantage with their fake numbers, etc. Let's move over to alleged would-be mass shooter in supermarket parking lot dead after good guy with a gun opens fire. This was at the Harris Teeter in Crozet, Virginia, who was killed Monday afternoon. Now, I did cover this on the Daily Defense, but you wrote this piece. I want to get your take on this because, yet again, this never happens, AWR. I never hear of good guys using guns. This never happens, according to the other side. It's so rare. But we report on them, and you write about them almost every day. What happened here?
Right, but this one is especially juicy because the alleged would-be mass shooter had a rifle, and he's killed with a handgun. You know, if you listen to the left, if somebody has a rifle, I'm just going to take a guess, AR-15, well, they're undefeatable. That's the most powerful gun ever made. I don't know if people know, but that's what we used on Nagasaki. We used the AR-15. That's how powerful they are.
I've seen the videos on X. That's true. I saw it on the internet. When they shoot at things, it just blows up like a nuclear explosion, those AR-15s.
But what happened, you have an armed citizen. He comes out, takes care of business, and that's that. And so it's another example of the benefit of an armed citizenry, and even more than just being armed, being ready, mentally ready. And this was a great story.
Yeah, it was. The suspected shooter, quoting, as you quoted, from the Albemarle County Virginia Police Department. The suspected shooter was pronounced deceased at the scene. The Good Samaritan was uninjured in the shooting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I throw this disclaimer out, this tag here, okay? We don't celebrate. It's not a happy ending story because the criminal is dead. It's a happy ending story because lots of people are alive because of the actions of a legally armed citizen taking business into his own hands and saving lots of lives. Fair statement, AWR? You got 20 seconds. Go for it.
Yeah, extremely fair, and that's how it should be. That individual walked out of the store and saw what was happening, boom, went to work, and the Second Amendment allows him to go to work and get the job done. It's beautiful.
Carry your guns, ladies and gentlemen. It's not doing you any good sitting somewhere else. Carry your firearm. You have a right to do so. If you carry a gun, make sure you carry it with you everywhere you go. None of this, well, I'm just going to Harris Teeter. It's safe. I've been going to Harris Teeter. I live in a nice neighborhood. I don't live on that side of the tracks. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. Tell that to the guy who just saved countless lives, who I promise you was probably thinking the same thing until it did happen to him. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, thanks for being here, brother. As always, we appreciate everything that you do. Have a great week out at Iowa. Next week, we'll talk with you when you come back. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues at 6 minutes after the break on this national radio broadcast on hundreds of stations. Amanda Harden from Lipstick Tactical and Colorado gun rights activist, and Colorado State Representative Max Brooks will be joining us for a mini roundtable to talk about the shenanigans going on behind the blue wall. If you live in a blue state, don't get complacent just because Trump's in office. We'll be right back. Make sure live cameras on.
Did you happen to pick up on AWR's BAC level? I wonder how long before the salaries for the View are no longer paid, because USAID was probably paying that too.
I don't get the whole, like I said, I put that tweet out. Oh, you know what we're going to do fun in the third hour? If you guys are listening now during the break before we go live again in about a minute, we're just going to pull Giffords' tweets, and we're going to go down the row, man. And we're just
because they were paid.
They're unbelievable. It's just, this is all they've got.
30.
And it's really fun to watch. All right, guys, see you in 30 seconds live.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walter.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues the second hour. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you're rejoining us, welcome back. Buckle in. It flies right by. Great hour previously with Adam Kraut, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation, and, of course, AWR Hawkins, who was able to jump in the final segment of that hour as well. And we're going to have a great hour coming up. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, brother?
Not too bad.
So you got all the social media platforms where we're live. You can tell people where to watch us and all that fun stuff. Participate in the chat, and then we'll get cracking here. We got a lot to cover.
Sure, you can watch the show over at Rumble or YouTube or even Fascist Book at Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, AAR Mark at X, and armedamericanradio.org or .com. On the right-hand side of that website, there will be the menu icons. Just give that a click, and when that window opens up, you can select that Watch Live option. If you're driving, hit that Listen Live link. And if you missed any previous episode of this program, just head on over to the podcast link. If you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is head on over to your app store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Boom. That'll get you in. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that very much. Don't forget, you can watch us over at YouTube, too. I think you mentioned YouTube, but we're up there as well. So make sure to check us out. You can subscribe to us there. Subscribe to the podcast. Just about ready to cross 21 million downloads. Remarkable run over the last several years on Armed American Radio. So welcome back, guys. We're going to get started. I've told you before, if you're living behind the blue wall, you are not safe. And I've heard a lot of people, and it concerns me greatly, Greg. Oh, Trump's in office, I feel pretty good. I talked to a few folks at some gun shops lately, and you hear the same thing. Like, people feel good right now, and that's a great thing. Don't get me wrong. That's a great thing. However, complacency kills us. It's how we got where we are now. It's how we wound up with 4 years of Biden. And it's why we can never go back to that. We cannot be asleep at the wheel. And if you live behind the blue wall, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think both of my guests coming up will agree with me when I tell you that because the federal level for the gun grabbers is pretty much out the window at this point, at least for the next 2 years. Now, let's say the next 4 years, because Trump's not going to sign anything. So we feel good about that. But the state is where they're directing their attention. In the next hour of the program, in the roundtable, we're going to cover some of the tweets from some of those anti-gun groups. And you can begin to see a narrative being created over there. So let's get this hour started. Let's go right to Max Brooks. Max Brooks is the District 45 state representative in Colorado, a state that knows all too well the shenanigans of the gun grabbers. He's a member of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee assignment, Finance Committee, and also Legislative Audit Committee. Max Brooks, welcome to the program, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for joining us today. There we go. Max, we got you?
Yeah, I'm there. You got me all right?
I got you just fine. Thank you. Did I miss anything on that intro? Did I miss a committee? I got Business Affairs and Labor, Finance, Legislative Audit Committee. Anything else I missed?
You nailed it.
All right.
Nailed it. Those three committees, and just do want to make sure to say thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for enlightening. We've been covering a lot about Colorado over the last few months. We're going to continue to do so because of what your state's a prime example of what they want for the rest of the country. Well, let's go to Amanda Harden. Ladies and gentlemen, you know Amanda. She's a good friend of mine, good friend of the program. She, of course, is a vocal activist, gun rights activist in Colorado, and also the founder of Lipstick Tactical. Amanda Harden, welcome back to the program. It's always great to have you as well.
Hey, Mark. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Oh, pleasure is mine. Guys, let's get started with this. What the hell is going on in Colorado? Max, it's just a blanket question, but I've got to ask it in that term. I don't want to get too specific on it yet. Just the rest of us outside the state that are plugged into this are watching what's going on in your state and watching the changes, the morphing, the metamorphosis that these bills are going through to try to get to Paulus's desk. Let's go into some detail here. What is happening and why in Colorado right now?
Common sense conservative principles left in the state. I can sum it up this way for you. I believe this state went down a road of, unfortunately, very possibly, no return once they went with the legalization of marijuana. We were one of the first states to do it, but they told us that it was a way of being able to make sure that law enforcement could spend their time on other things, a way of being able to make money. It didn't have anything to do with that. It didn't have anything to do with revenue. It didn't have anything to do with law enforcement. What it did have to do with was attracting younger generations as they exited college that brought along their woke liberal politics with them, and it has changed the state completely. We used to be purple. We are as blue as you can possibly get now, my friend, and I'm sorry to say that.
The Californication of Colorado.
Yes.
Is that real?
Yes.
Is it just a figment of my imagination?
It is very real. No, it is very real, and honestly, I believe that a lot of our Democrat colleagues in the House oftentimes look to see, what is California doing, and let's just try to out-policy each other, right? I mean, Colorado right now, they're waving a flag about how they are the 10th safest state in terms of gun legislation, which means that it is right at the top of the list for what Democrats have done in an unconstitutional manner to our state, and they continue to just shred the Constitution and pay no attention to it whatsoever. I believe that the Democrats in this state are just in a race to try to match things up with other states, be able to bring in, it's all wrought, as you know, by advocacy groups. And then what they do in the case of, and there are a lot of, unfortunately, almost a dozen, 9 or 10 gun bills that we're facing even this legislative session right now, all of them heinous in their own way. But just one example of House Bill 1133, it's an advocacy piece that was brought, and of course the Democrats put the majority leader right on it, so that way they can influence the vote of the Democrats and just get all their little ducks in a line and just push through despite the unconstitutional nature of it.
What's the math on the legislative body as far as Democrats to Republicans in the House and Senate in the state?
We are one seat away from being in the super minority in both the House and in the Senate as well. We're 43-22 in the House, and that is, consider this, that's after we picked up 3 seats this last election cycle. So we just began our 2-year terms this year, January, 120-day session. I wish it was 12, because then that way they wouldn't be able to push through as much junk. But it is 43-22. We were only 19 in the superminority. It is imperative to pick up seats, and it's imperative to make sure that, if nothing else, we're holding the line, because then, as you know, if the Dems get control, supermajority in both the House and the Senate, there's just no stopping them whatsoever.
No, as much as I hate to say this, you're done. Amanda, from an activist standpoint, let me continue along that line of questioning. How does that change your game? Only got what do we have, Greg? About a minute? Yeah, I think. How does that change your game as an activist if it falls to a supermajority Democrats?
You know, from us on the outside, I guess I would say, as activists, that is, and after speaking with Representative Brooks, they really can kind of change things up how they want. I feel like they're kind of treating y'all like you're a super minority already, the way they're stacking committees. So they can change the amount of people on a committee. It's not set that it's X number of committee members each year. So we got more Republicans elected this year. But what they did, instead of just leaving the committee numbers the same, they went and altered the committee numbers, and now there's more Democrats. So basically, they've kept them in almost a super minority position, it feels like, by this arbitrary shuffling of numbers of committees, instituting representatives in and out of committee hearings when they find out that they're going to vote a certain way that is not agreeable to them. So it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it's going to get worse if that happens. Let's just hold on to our hats. You picked up 3 seats. That's a great sign. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back from the break, we're going to continue the conversation with Representative from Colorado, Max Brooks, District 45. You're listening on a number of stations in Colorado. Hope you're enjoying the program. And Amanda Harden, 2 people doing the work, the boots on the ground in the great state of Colorado. We'll be right back.
This segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Don't forget to use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back indeed. Armed American Radio, welcome to the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. And it's a great day. It's been a great month, ladies and gentlemen. It really has. There's a lot going on, and I've got some breaking news for you right now as we sit here in front of this Sig Sauer mic at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. And, of course, it's all being brought to you by X Insurance and all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. But we have some breaking news. And Max Brooks, welcome back in. Great to have you here. We'll break this with you. And Amanda as well. Amanda Harden from Lipstick Tactical. Max Brooks, of course, Colorado State Representative, District 45. Guys, Dan Bongino has just been named the Deputy Director of the FBI by Cash Patel moments ago.
Wow.
So let's let's talk about this for a moment. Yes, we're going to focus on Colorado. We have you for 3 segments, but I want to go here with you because the news coming out of Washington is coming at breakneck speed, as you know. Trump has been moving faster than anything I've ever seen in my adult life, following politics, particularly as a pundit on the nation's airwaves for the last 16 years. I've never seen anything like this from either party. So, Max, let me start with you. Cash Patel first. Phenomenal pick to lead the FBI. ATF, he's now been named the acting director of the ATF as well. So he's double-fisted here, and he is just named Dan Bongino. I'm going to just harbor a guess here, but heads are going to start rolling at those organizations, particularly the FBI right out of the box. How do you see it?
Absolutely. I think we should play the over-under game about how long it's going to take before heads start rolling and then how many will actually roll. But you talked about this earlier, right, that we cannot stay complacent. But you hit this at the top of the hour that we sure are very excited as good conservatives, seeing what's happening in this country, seeing the change and seeing the action that our President Trump has taken and he continues to take to be able to turn this country around. I mean, it's fantastic news.
Yeah, you're watching liberal heads pop like zits around here. Amanda Harden, this has been incredibly fun to watch. For the longest time, I told friends and family, stop waking up in the morning and turning on those stupid talk news programs in the morning. Why do you want to get up at 6 o'clock and start your day angry at quote-unquote news when you can watch some stupid comedy show or a Netflix, whatever? Well, now I'm flipping the script. It's been more fun Joy Reid is out at MSNBC. I put a tweet out on that. It's already over 15,000 views in a matter of hour. It's just everything's happening at breakneck speed. And how do you feel when you hear Cash Patel now heading FBI and AT double-fisted here with a little bit of help from Dan Bongino? The other side is just hating this from a gun rights standpoint because these are two staunch supporters of our Second Amendment rights. My gosh.
Hey, they'll know how to take a slide off of a firearm. I don't think that's ever going to be forgotten about. I think it's great. We needed a shakeup. Anyone can look around this country. Clearly, you can look around Colorado and say something's wrong. More than ever, people are on drugs, violence is up, crime is up, people are not happy, our kids are not getting educated well, our food is terrible. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is can you look around and consciously perceive what you're seeing? Something needs to be shaken up. I'm here for it. Let's see what happens.
Man, I tell you what, this is just going to be the next 90 days at FBI and ATF are going to be incredibly fun to watch. Max, let me jump back over to you. Let's talk now about the bills the Democrats are working their way through Colorado, and let's try to get in their heads and ask why. Now, as much as I hate to say this, I usually point to New Jersey when I use this as an example, and I'll do that right now. Good news for gun owners in New Jersey is how few sucky bills make it to the governor's desk. Right? And Colorado is in that boat right now, but there's a little bit of a difference. Polis signaled an unwillingness to sign an assault weapons ban months back. He appears poised, and if I read what he said correctly, he is not adverse to signing this particular bill. And I would like to get your take on the changes that have been made legislatively to make this more palpable, because there's politics involved. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Democrats are setting Polis up for what might be his future run for higher office, whether it be Senate, President, whatever it may be. What are the politics going on here behind the scenes in Colorado?
It's interesting because it's tough to keep a beat on it because of the different pieces that I'm hearing. Yes, he recently came out and said that he would not necessarily oppose signing this Senate Bill 003, which started out as a ban against any sort of firearm that has a detachable magazine, as ridiculous as that sounds. And it has gone through a heavily amendment process, where it's come out looking more like Illinois' firearm owner ID law. I don't know if that is really what's going on. I don't know because of his prospects looking down the road at Senate, which may give him a shot at president. Everybody does understand, and conventional wisdom is he has something up his sleeve that he wants to do, some other office that he is wanting to seek, and he needs to make sure that his image is tailored for that. So while he might outwardly, publicly be saying that he's not adverse to signing this, the talk within the Capitol, in legislature, has been he wants this to die somewhere along the way because he doesn't want to have to deal with it. He doesn't want to have to veto it. He doesn't want to have to just let it sit. So he's hoping that maybe it meets an ugly fate. Now, it didn't happen, obviously, in Senate committee. It's been assigned to Judiciary in the House. That committee is not particularly favorable for us, for Republicans. It's a 7-4 stack. One of the Democrat members that's sitting on that is one of the bill sponsors. So I'm pretty sure I get an idea about how he's going to vote, right? I'm hoping that it does have a pretty heavy fiscal note to it, and as you know, Colorado is out of money. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to put forward a balanced budget this year. Depending on who you ask, depending on the day you ask, it's somewhere between $650 million and $1.2 billion in the hole. So we can't be continuing to write checks. I'm hoping that after it gets through, assuming it gets through appropriations, that they try to send it to somewhere else, like state military affairs, a kill committee, to where maybe somebody that isn't a committee that isn't as lopsided might be able to nail this thing down and just end it. Because if it gets to the House floor, it's sailing through.
Oh, it's going to pass. It's going to pass with flying colors. There's no doubt about it. We predicted it last week on the show. Amanda, when we come back, I'm going to come to you with a question. And you said the deficit, $1.2 billion. Maybe the Democrats in Colorado are giving money to Stacey Abrams as well. There's always that. You never know. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues. We're talking with Colorado State Rep Max Brooks, District 45, and Amanda Harden, founder of Lipstick Tactical. When we come back, Amanda, we'll go right to you. Don't go away. We'll be back in 4 minutes, folks.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Yeah, Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, and precision is real, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what keeps Daniel Defense rifles and the handgun clean? Barrel Buddy. BarrelBuddy.com. Pitch the patch. Get rid of it. That's yesterday. No stink, no mess, no cleaning your hands, nobody telling you you're a mess, nobody telling you, don't do that around here, the kids are around, no, don't do that. Barrel Buddy eliminates the problem. You can clean your guns in 2 swipes with Barrel Buddy right at the range, stick it right back in your bag or back on your holster, and you're good to rock and roll. Welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in front of the 6 Hour mic at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. All of it being brought to you by the great X Insurance. Amanda Harden, Lipstick Tactical, welcome back. Let's go back to you. Now, I just got a text message from you, and I'm not going to read that on the air. I'll catch that when we come back in a break, but it was something about a Bills movement, right? All of a sudden, my screen flashed up in front of me with something about inquiring about a Bills movement. Max, did you get that?
Did you want to say something about the movement of the Bills, Max?
Yeah, sure. And I'll keep this very short. I apologize. Yeah, I had the routing of Senate Bill 003 incorrect. It actually, the first stop in the House is going to be Judiciary, where we probably have a better chance there. My fear is if it gets through there and if it's routed to Appropriations, that we're not going to be able to stop it there. So I just wanted to clarify that.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Amanda, why wouldn't Paulus, after listening to what Max said and you and I have talked about this both on air and off air, and why not just be a leader instead of playing the game publicly? Why not just say no? Look, Paulus is not stupid. He saw what happened with Grisham in New Mexico, okay? Trying to ban carry in Albuquerque and all this nonsense. I mean, every Democrat, it was really remarkable to see. Democrat politicians, you had Democrat sheriff, Democrat AG come out and say not going to happen, not enforceable, and the governor herself said that what she wanted to do would not work. So the question is, and I could go back to Parkland, I could go back to Scott at the time of the Parkland tragedy in 2018, 7 years ago, just this month, 7 years ago. Why wouldn't Scott just stand up and say, absolutely not, am I going to screw 22 million residents because of the actions of a criminal? Why won't Paulus just stand up? You know how the legislature works out there, and say, no, I'm not going to sign this if, in fact, he's got designs on a higher office. Why not just come out and be honest and actually act like a leader instead of playing games?
Oh, man, that's so much I want to say to that.
Dude,
but really, this amendment, the amendment has really concerned me, the one where we can basically buy back our right to purchase these guns. Because all of the legislators now are saying that are for this bill, they're going, well, now it really is just a cleanup bill, because that's how they've been trying to present it, that it's just a cleanup bill of that high-capacity magazine ban we passed that y'all are not obeying. So we need to pass another bill to clean it up. But so we're not going to actually take your rights away now because we have this amendment on the bill. And all you have to do is go take this class. So just they're being so nonchalant. I feel like I'm being gaslighted by the Democrats in the state of Colorado right now, because they're like, well, you didn't lose a right because all you have to do is take this class now. But what we all know is this class is going to be very hard to take. It's going to back up.
Take a class in order to exercise your rights. You're not losing your rights. You know, that's like a judge when my wife sued guys during COVID because she couldn't get her carry permit. But Max, the judge was signing marriage licenses. The judge was, because in the state of Georgia, you go to a probate judge to get your permit. She wanted to get her permit back because it had expired, and he said, no, we're not signing concealed weapons permits anymore. Now it's constitutional carry state. Now it's a moot point, but then it was not. But he was signing marriage licenses, and he was signing business licenses, et cetera, and everything else that he could. He just wasn't signing concealed carry licenses. So my wife sued. And the judge in the case, although he said her rights have not been taken from her, she could still carry a gun in a box or a locked container or she could carry a rifle. So Amanda, my wife, 5'3", is going to walk into a public supermarket with her AR slung over her shoulder, pushing a. Come on, okay? These guys they'll come up with every excuse in the book, Representative Brooks, to try to make it look like our rights aren't being taken away from us, and they're taking them away from us. And you are being gaslighted.
Right.
That therein, Amanda, is the gaslighting right there in action. Max, go ahead.
You're absolutely right. I mean, what they've done recently with House Bill 1133, and Amanda had referenced this a little bit earlier, is first of all, it was going to die in committee. It's an 8-5 stack on the committee. We had 2 no votes from Democrats. Democrats knew it, but because the majority leader is running the bill, they subbed somebody out to be able to get the yes vote, to be able to get it to the floor. And so we beat up the Democrats on that for 5 hours on the floor on Friday. We were able to get some amendments through, but there's only so much that you're able to do. I mean, you can paint a dumpster whatever color you want, but you still know the contents of it.
It's still a dumpster.
And so we're going to try to we'll do what we can on third and final, but it basically is a law to make it illegal to sell ammunition to anybody under the age of 21. And their justification for doing this is that, well, hey, in 2023, Colorado made it illegal to sell a firearm to anybody under the age of 21. So doesn't it just make sense now to be able to say, well, let's just do the same thing with ammunition? So they're chasing one bad, unconstitutional law after another, but making it, to your point, seem like, well, I mean, this just makes sense to do this, right? Mm-hmm. It makes sense. This shouldn't be that big of a deal because it's already, you can't own a gun if you're under 21 here. I mean, forget about the fact you can deploy and fight for this country, but now they don't want you to be able to buy ammunition unless you're 21 years old.
Now, the Second Amendment Foundation, I'm sure both of you are aware, maybe not aware, just popped last week, but the Second Amendment Foundation just sued the state of Massachusetts on their 18 to 20-year-old ban. They have had 7 other cases, been victorious in most of them. So, Colorado, your day is coming with that as well. That is unconstitutional.
Yes.
That's coming.
That's right. And as you may very well be aware, just recently the Fifth Circuit, Louisiana, overturned it. And they said that's unconstitutional. Yeah, hey, guess what? 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they've got constitutional rights. Go figure.
Yeah, imagine that. Not if you're a Democrat. It's unbelievable what we see out there. Now, you have a bill, correct me if I'm wrong, it's HB 25-1055, repeal firearm dealer requirements and state permit. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, you bet. It's a straight-line repeal of last year's 1353, which is a duplicative permitting process on gun stores. Basically, they're saying, okay, look, we know already that you have to go through all of these permitting processes and the fees associated with that with the ATF, but we want to duplicate that within the state of Colorado as well. And by the way, in order to do this, we have to hire in the Department of Revenue 20 new full-time equivalents. We're going to put them through post-training so that way the Department of Revenue can expand their police force to be able to go in and check on these permits, sometimes with scheduled visits and other times unscheduled, i.e. raid visits for the Department of Revenue. So it's going to cost the state millions and millions of dollars in order to enact this. First of all, it's a strangulation of small business in Colorado. Small business in Colorado we are in such a bad position. We are the 6th most regulated state in the nation. Now, yes, I understand that these small businesses sell firearms, and that's just making all the Democrats' heads pop. But we ought to be treating these small businesses the same that we would if they're selling mufflers or whatever widget that they're selling. We've got to protect them because they're trying to make money.
Well, Max, Amanda, I'll go to you. We've got 30 seconds. When we come back, I'm going to take it to you, Amanda. But correct me if I'm wrong, but firearms are a lawful product and constitutionally protected, are they not? Real quick, Amanda. We'll go to a break and come back to you.
They are, and they're just trying to legislate them out of existence, because by the time you fight it in court, the businesses are shut down and gone.
Yeah, we all saw. You're right. And we all saw what the weaponized ATF did to revocations of FFLs, lawful FFLs, over the Biden years. Thank God that's in the rearview mirror. And I don't know, after seeing the Bongino deal, it is going to be an awful lot of fun to watch what's happening over the next 30, 60, and 90 days in the DOJ, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back. One more segment to go with Representative from Colorado, Max Brooks, State Representative, District 45, and Amanda Harden, Lipstick Tactical. Don't go away.
Shocking.
Camera's on.
We've still got time.
You said 30.
My bad.
It's okay. Leave them on.
All of her opponents came up dead, and now she's moving to change the Constitution to protect the cartels. Really weird. It smells like shenanigans.
Ladies and gentlemen, if it smells like it, it is. Pretty much that simple. Roundtable's going to be fun tonight with that breaking news with Cash and him and ATF and now Bongino. Justin's going to have a hoot with that. No doubt. Guys, Roundtable coming up next is going to be a blast. You don't want to miss it.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. If you're watching me on any of your devices, your television sets, whatever it may be, the phone I'm holding up is a Patriot Mobile activated phone here at the ranch. Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center fired up for you. So make sure to check them out. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR. And I do this every week, and I'm going to do it right now because it's right in front of me. Boom, I just, cracked open that Emerson knife for you there. Emerson knives. This thing went to great use today, cutting up a bunch of boxes and stuff, getting them ready for trash, man, because Wednesday is garbage day. Welcome back in. Let's go now to Amanda Harden. Amanda, Lipstick Tactical founder. Guys, I'm really looking forward to have this part of the conversation. I've been holding the best for last. Because you guys are probably very well aware that the Supreme Court Snopes case, the Fourth Circuit Maryland assault weapons ban case, is now working its way through conference again. It's done Friday. We're going to find out tomorrow. They're going to give us conference results at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 your time in Colorado. And we're waiting with bated breath to see if the Supreme Court finally takes that Fourth Circuit assault weapons ban case out of Maryland. Because if they do, I can tell you right now we're going to win that case. I feel that confident about it, as does Gottlieb over at the Second Amendment Foundation and others. While it's hard to guess the court, we've already seen the signs. And that's why the Fourth Circuit did what they did and dragged their feet on this. Amanda, as you and I were talking about just a few days ago prior to the show, off air, the implications and ramifications to that for your state are huge. Will the Democrats stop or halt a bill if the Supreme Court takes this case? Now, it won't be until the next session. They'll likely move forward with the bill because that's what Democrats do, because they hate our gun rights. But could it put some type of roadblock up? Are the Democrats smart enough to go, oh, man, we're wasting our time, we're spinning our wheels, the Supreme Court just took the assault weapons ban case, which really makes this a moot point. I hear Max laughing in the background. So we'll go to you in just a second because you're right, and I know where you're going. But could it? I mean, can we be optimistic, Amanda?
No, I'm not. I mean, I want to be, but I'm not. And it was like just what I was saying right before we went to commercial. It's like I almost think they're going to ram through more horrific firearms legislation because they're like, let's pass it. We'll let all these businesses go under. We'll destroy the system entirely. And then, okay, if they overturn it, it'll take a couple years. But, like, the damage will be done. It's like we'll be rebuilding from ashes because it's just going to destroy. Between everything that passed last year and everything in addition to Senate Bill 3 that's being proposed this year, it's just going to wreck the industry from retailers to instructors, to owners, to hunters, to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Like, it's not going to just be singular to one part of the industry. It is wrecking the entire firearms industry and even the owners in the state of Colorado. And then this stupid thing about pinning your magazines on or welding them, I'm like, who's liable for that? Because people are going to get hurt. And then there's not even a real process for that. And if I do it myself and I'm at the range and someone else has one and they get hurt, we're going to have accidents. People are going to get hurt. Like, this is a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They don't care.
No, they're just going to mess it up, and then stuff will get overturned eventually.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I'll say I'll use these words for what you just said, but scorched earth. They're just going scorched earth. Max, you were laughing. Obviously, we know what the Democrats are going to do. I think what we're looking here is we're staring down the throat of a New York Hochul situation where they lose the Bruin case at the Supreme Court and then come in and tell everybody they're going to fix it while turning it upside down and ignoring the ruling altogether and forcing taxpayers to have to spend millions of dollars to defend their unconstitutional laws that they're trying to gaslight people are just common sense gun safety measures. And I feel pretty sure, based on your reaction, that that's what you expect Colorado Democrats to continue to do.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was adorable that you wanted to try to give them credit for a little bit. And that's nice. I can tell, you're a nice guy. You're a good human. You want to be able to believe in a better nature of people, but that's not what we're dealing with here, unfortunately. So, no, I think that that's what really kills us, right? With this Snoopy Brown is that it's been sitting around. They've been banging around on this thing since August of last year. They know that they can get it up to that level. It's just going to, as Amanda mentioned, it's just going to create just an absolute disaster for those that are trying to stay in business, trying to sell guns, trying to have any element whatsoever of the firearm industry. They know that they could just drag this thing out. I've always thought that they'll know that these will be challenged in court, these absolute garbage that they're pushing through. But I think they're trying to bleed out some of our organizations. Like National Association of Gun Rights nationally. We've got the Colorado chapter of the NRA here, the CSSA, Colorado State Shooting Association. We've got Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. Mm-hmm. We've got some great organizations here that stand up and fight. But there's only so much money that they have, and they will fight everything in court. I just think sometimes they're just trying to drag them through the mud and just bleed them out financially.
All right, with the remaining time that we have left, I kind of want to let's see if we can get, and I don't know the answers to these questions. I wish I did, guys. I really, truly do. But, Amanda, where do you go from here? Let's make the assumption that the bill moves through the House. It sails through, as Max said it was going to, and as we've predicted it would, and it will in the Colorado House. What happens next? What do you have left and I'm going to use this, as a gun fighter, and you are? What do you have next? What's left in your satchel bag?
It took us a while to get here. I mean, let's be real. Bad firearms legislation is not new to Colorado. It was greatly ramped up in the last few years. But, at some point, we have to start calling other gun owners out. I know everyone wants to be like, I don't do politics. Like, I get it, but what about your rights? We shouldn't have to protect our rights and defend our rights and stay vigilant on our rights with our own government. But that's the world we live in. So it's like it took us a long time to get here. I do not want this nasty legislation to pass, and we need to mobilize. But then they turn it on us. They're like, oh, well, y'all all came out, and the committee hearing went till like midnight, and we listened to all the gun owners, and now we put this nice amendment on there, and you could just get this license, and then you can get the gun you want. So it's like, that to me, like, I want to hug all the gun owners that came out and thank them. It's because that's got to be the hugest slap in the face, because it's like, oh, my God, I tried to do something good, and that almost feels like it made it worse, because now they ended this bill that might pass, and they literally just turned it on us, that we all showed up. So I just want people to stay motivated, stay in the fight. We're not going to get all our rights back this year. Hopefully we don't lose too many of them, but we just have to keep showing up. There's more people showing up than last year. There's more people showing up last year than showed up the year before. It might take a while to get them back. What do the people that have shops and ranges do right this second? I don't know. My heart breaks for them.
I'll make a suggestion. I'll make a suggestion to them. Get more people to the range. Never once. Max, you'll probably agree with me. Have you ever taken anyone to a range that when you left said, that sucked, I never want to do that again? Likely not.
Never.
Max,
right.
Tell
Never.
people, you've got about 20 seconds. Tell people what they need to do in Colorado with the remaining 20 seconds that we have with you.
And let's get more Republicans in the House.
Yeah, hopefully Colorado, like the rest of the nation, you're going to win so much you get tired of winning. Max Brooks, District 45, Colorado, thank you, sir, for being here. We'll have you back on very soon. Amanda Harden, love you. Thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back at 6 after, it's going to be a classic roundtable. Don't go away.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, we'll be back at 6 minutes after. Let's see here. Do we have a mic?
So
yes, we
I
do.
can't find it yet.
We'll be back at 6 minutes after, so stay tuned on the flip side of this break. Don't go away. Classic roundtable coming up. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. We'll be right back.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Oh, good heavens. Welcome in. Third hour of Armed American Radio now well underway. The previous 2 hours are in the books. 2 great hours of radio, by the way. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in on whatever station you're on across the country or whatever platform you're on. Welcome inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in front of this powerful Sig Sauer microphone. It's all being brought to you by X Insurance here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing? Welcome. Hour 3, brother.
Yeah, here we are, hour 3.
That was a fun 2 hours. I think of what's going on in Colorado, and it just pains me, man. This is going to be a multi-year process to get our rights back in that state. It really is.
Yeah.
Good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, welcome. If you're rejoining us, welcome back. Greg, if you would tell people where to watch the program and participate in chats and all that fun stuff, and then we'll get cracking with the crew.
Sure, if you want to watch the show, YouTube, Rumble, and Fascist Book, you can search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters at X. You can search for AAR Mark over at armedamericanradio.org or .com.
Yep.
Well, the phone's ringing also while I'm trying to do this.
I hear, Just, I'll take it away from you. You go ahead and grab that. You can watch us on all those platforms over there. Greg's got work to do behind the scenes. He is actually producing the show, and I'm pretty certain that that's Justin Moon calling in. So we've got a good one lined up for you. But you can go over to the Telegram app, download the Telegram app, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations. It's always lively, or you can chat in whatever platform you're watching the show. Make sure if you're watching us, like it, share it, get it out there. We appreciate it very, very much, regardless of the platform that you're watching on. Again, you can watch us at armedamericanradio.com. You can also watch us over at OpsLens, and that gives you access to, with the OpsLens app, to your Apple TVs, your Roku TVs, and all that fun stuff. So welcome back in, guys. All right, let's start with this. Let's go first to Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers Whiskey. Brad Primo, how you doing today, my brother? Lots of fun stuff to talk with you guys about today.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing wunderbar. Thank you for being here. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. I heard the phone ring, and I knew it was you. How you doing, Justin? Welcome into the Car Firearms Group studios, brother.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Hey, are you going to be at the Iowa show overseas next week?
No, I'm not going to do Iowa. I let Frank do that. Yeah, that's just too far for me to fly.
Oh, Frank Harris is going to be, good. Well, we love our Frank. We love Frank. Well, thanks for being here, Justin. Appreciate it very much. And now let's go to Neil McCabe, losing his Boston accent from redstate.com. Redstate.com. Neil, how you doing, brother?
Fantastic, Mark.
And getting better every single day. Guys, I got to start with this. Cash Patel, FBI. Brad, let me start with you. Cash Patel, FBI.
Looking forward to it. I want to see what he does. I mean, the FBI has fallen really far. I mean, it wasn't super long ago. You can remember the FBI was probably the premier investigative organization in the world, and they were well known for their professionalism and abilities, and they have fallen way far from that. And so I'm hoping Cash Patel actually restores them back to their former glory and sets them to work of imposing law and order and getting rid of all these violent criminals we have running our streets right now. And they get back in the business of putting bad guys in jail and not, hunting down political opponents.
Justin, Cash Patel as FBI director. He's got a new title, too. We're going to go around the table on that one in just a minute, so don't steal my thunder. But Cash Patel as FBI director. Are you thrilled? Are you happy?
I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to him firing every single one of those Gestapo traitors who worked on the January 6 cases. The FBI is supposed to be a law enforcement agency. You're supposed to start with a crime and then find the criminal. You're not supposed to have open intelligence on all Americans. This is Gestapo tactics.
Create the crime and then go arrest people. Neil McCabe, Cash Patel at FBI. What are your thoughts there, brother?
Well, it's fantastic. And then you consider the fact that we were told that it couldn't happen, that it was ridiculous. What an outrageous, Trump is just trolling us. He's not really serious. But you've buried the lead, Mark.
No, not yet. You want to stop
Are
there?
You
want
say
me
it or should I?
Go ahead. I know where you're going.
What?
Go ahead. Start us off.
Now you go. It's your show. You can say it.
No, were you going to talk about him now as the director of the ATF as well? Is that where you were going next?
That is massive. And also, they fired Pamela Hicks, who, frankly, you look at her profile picture on LinkedIn, she looks like every softball coach I've ever known. And she's also been walked out the door. She was the top lawyer at ATF, so she was the one who, she and her team of monsters were the ones inflicting the zero tolerance on everyone and every other trick in the book, because she was deputy general counsel. So she and her team of lawyers were the ones basically cracking down on law-abiding Americans over and over again, while the rest of the government was letting the criminals loose on the streets.
And that is called burying the lead, ladies and gentlemen. I did that intentionally. Brad, Cash Patel, also heading up the ATF. Now, this has been a topic of conversation on the roundtable for a long time. Who's going to take that rogue agency? And the three of us had this conversation. How many times have we said, wouldn't we love to see Cash take both? And I thought, I had never seen that done before. Well, lo and behold, it is. I'm also burying another lead. That story just broke about 30 minutes ago. We'll go there in just a second. But let's start with this. Cash Patel now heading FBI and ATF, Brad. Are you giddy yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's also a statement of probably what this administration has planned for the ATF, because if the ATF warranted their own standalone division, they would have a director that's not also the FBI guy. And so I think what you're going to see is a dramatic winding down of the ATF as an agency. I think probably a lot of their law enforcement activities are going to be folded in the FBI. And, maybe, who knows, Cash Patel's actual job there is to oversee the winding down of the ATF, the assumption of the law enforcement activities into the FBI, and then we're completely done with that rogue agency.
Justin, can you think of anybody better to run it?
Oh, that's amazing that President Trump picked Cash. He's rated 100% by A+ by Gun Owners of America. I'm just looking I'd like to see Cash go through the ATF and find out anybody who was associated with Waco, Ruby Ridge, and the killing of Molosky, the airport manager, right. And I want to see him fire them all.
Prosecute them all. Let's go that distance. And if there's anybody going to do it or capable of it, ladies and gentlemen, it's Cash Patel. Now, I'm not going to bury this one on you now, Neil, because you'll call me out on this as well, but about 30 minutes ago, it was just announced that Dan Bongino has been tapped to be the deputy director of the FBI. This is just a 1-2 punch to the gut.
Listen, Mark, please. It's like, so I was at CPAC, right? So you're like, we're not even talking about Elon Musk with a chainsaw, right? We're just like, it's like, that is like 10 years ago. Like, the Trump administration 2.0 is coming at you so fast.
It's incredible.
It's like firing 4-star generals. Like, it's just like, whatever. Listen, the only thing I love more than the Trump administration hiring former Fox News hosts is the Trump administration firing Fox News hosts or hiring Fox News hosts who are fired for being too conservative. Like, if you're too conservative for Fox, I love you being deputy director of the FBI.
Brad, I'll let you take us to the break with that. Bongino. Now, Greg and I were talking off air a little bit ago. We thought he would have something to do with the Secret Service. I'm glad he's over at FBI, to be honest. And it tells me something about how Trump feels about Secret Service that he's not, because those two guys are tight, and we know his background with Secret Service over the years. But could 1-2 punch, did I describe it accurately? Good heavens, that's a gut punch to people like Eric Swalwell and Pelosi and Schumer and the rest of these losers that are still hanging on by a thread. Yep, 30 seconds, Brad, go for it.
Yeah, you know what? This is the installation of another, I just consider this like kind of old school, law dogs. I mean, we're getting actual cops going back to doing cop stuff, and that's what they ought to be doing. I mean, this is who we need. We don't need, guys in suits. We don't need politicians having these jobs. We need law enforcement guys having these jobs. That's what Dan Bongino is. And so I think it's going to be great. And there's going to be a huge exodus of FBI agents who are not in that job for the right reasons, who are not cops. They're gonna find their way to the door.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you think the last 30 days was fun, wait till you see the next 30, 60, or 90 with this combo. Good heavens, this is unbelievable. Could Matt Gaetz rear his head again, too, somewhere along the way? Don't be shocked if he does. We'll be back 4 minutes from now on the flip side of the break. Don't go away.
Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Back indeed. Segment 2 of the Armed American Radio Classic Roundtable. We're talking with Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers. Of course, we're in the Car Firearms Group studios, and we're talking with Justin Moon, the CEO of Car Firearms, and we're talking with Neil McCabe from Parts Unknown. Really, he's over at redstate.com. Welcome back in the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, sitting in front of the 6-hour powerful microphone. It's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. You can visit all of our partners at armedamericanradio.com. Really fun partner that we've had for a while working with us is Goat Guns. Now, if you've never bought a Goat Gun, man, it feeds your addiction. These things are phenomenal. GoatGuns.com. Check them out. Super high quality miniature builds that you put together yourself, exact replicas licensed by the manufacturers over at GoatGuns.com. GoatGuns.com. Make sure to check them out. They make great gifts for yourself. Treat yourself to one. Prepare to feed your new addiction because they are addicting. But they're great for your office. They're great for home. They make great gifts, birthday gifts, etc. So check them out at GoatGuns.com. GoatGuns.com. And don't forget, BudsGunShop.com. BudsGunShop.com has you covered. They're our exclusive online retailer. And I got the cool Bud's Gun Shop shirt going on here. Got a bunch of those. BudsGunShop.com. Welcome back to the program, guys. Let's get started. Who did I leave off with last? Did I leave off with you, Brad? Was it you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me flip it over to Justin Moon to get this started. Justin, I'd like your comments on, as I was thinking during the break, what Brad said about ATF, the fact that Cash has it and was asked to tap ATF at FBI. What does that signal to you? I think, Brad, you might very well be on to something here, and I think we should have this conversation. Because there's been a lot of talk, there's movement in Congress, Justin, as you know, to abolish the ATF. A number of people have put bills forward to do just that. What do you think's getting ready to happen here?
I think the Trump administration wants to get rid of the ATF, cut it up into little pieces, butcher it, get rid of a lot of the anti-gun stuff, and then scale back the legislation behind it and roll it up into the FBI.
I think you might be right, and this might very well signal that. Neil, you know how it operates. ATF has been a regulatory agency, but they've been making their own law out of thin air by abusing regulations to enforce laws that Congress never passed. And Cash now heading that up. We know the wrecking ball he's going to take to the FBI. We know it. We simply know it.
They tried to change the definition of the machine gun.
Sure.
But not only that, and it's an interesting tool, right? Because of course, I was at CPAC this past weekend. And, one of the things everyone was saying at CPAC is that, as bad as it was to go through the last 4 years, and we've said this on the show, but if they had let Trump return to the White House after the 2020 election, right now we would be talking about, isn't Mike Pence awesome, and he's going to be Trump's third term, not knowing anything, not knowing any of the truth. All of the truth was exposed in the last 4 years. And what the ATF did that just makes me bonkers crazy is this zero tolerance so it's like, it's not like they invented new laws. It's just that they treated every single typo as a willful violation of federal law and just started pulling licenses and fines. And I think it was last week, I went through the numbers. They probably pulled the license over the last 4 years. They probably pulled the licenses from like 500, 600, maybe 750 of these businesses, and these aren't like the 3 and 4 store chains, right? Where they have a lawyer who says, "Hey, wait a minute," or they can call up a congressman and fix it. These are the workaday Joes who have an FFL and they're just trying to make it like everybody else, and they crush them.
Oh, there's no doubt. And those revocations, from a percentage standpoint, guys, are 600 to 700% increase with the rogue ATF. Brad, I really do think that you're onto something here, and I hadn't looked at it that way. I just think that the next 30 to 60 days is really going to be telling. If you think the last 30 was fun, good heavens, hold on to your hats, because we ain't seen nothing yet. Trump is showing absolutely zero sign whatsoever of slowing down. Could Matt Gaetz pop back in here somewhere in maybe a deputy post or over at ATF as a deputy director. Could any of that happen? Because we all know where he stands with ATF.
I mean, anything's possible. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Matt Gaetz also has a lot of value as just, a regular dude now that has a big platform on social media and other places, on podcasts and everything else, that to be a guy with a megaphone, speaking to the masses in his position he is now. If he wants a job in the government, he could probably have one. I think he'd be pretty effective at it. But, at the end of the day, I think what we're seeing is the administration, along with, I guess, Congress is on board. They are making moves to permanently make these moves that Donald Trump is doing permanent. They're looking to codify these executive orders through federal law. And with this ATF deal, I really think with this appointment of Cash Patel, I would not be surprised in the next, somewhere between 6 to 12 months, the ATF does not exist in the way that we know it. And that's going to be a permanent thing. Like, if you think about it, if we completely eliminate that department, that agency, if the Democrats ever get back into power, they're going to have a huge lift to try to stand that thing back up. We're about to slay Goliath here. David's about to slay Goliath, and we're going to be free.
Justin, as a manufacturer, what does that mean for you and your dealers, for example?
Well, let me say this. The FBI went through Melania Trump's underwear, so I think we know what Trump's going to do to these agencies.
You're probably spot on right about that. But as a manufacturer, as a dealer, without an ATF as you know it today, as a regulatory agency, now you deal with the ATF as a manufacturer, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you'll probably tell me that some of the individual people that you work with are okay, right?
Well, the lower underlings are always, better than the ones on top. But it's the policy which disgusts me. And really, even the underlings are carrying out disgusting anti-constitutional policies. So they're all part of the federal Gestapo.
Yeah, and that's what leads me to my point. Kind of a leading question there, but I knew how you were going to answer that because I've been pretty harsh on them for a long time. I don't care. If you're an ATF agent that's working for a weaponized agency and you know it, and you're still there doing the bidding of that weaponized agency, you just flat out suck. It's pretty much that simple. But from a manufacturing standpoint, would you expect to see the FBI? We've got 30 seconds. So let me just do this. Let me ask the question now, and then when we come back from the break, I'll go to you because I don't want to cut you off. I want to hear what you have to say. But as a manufacturer now, if ATF is gone as we know it, maybe it's just a 3-letter alphabet agency that does nothing but shovel paperwork back and forth from the work the FBI is doing, how will that impact your business and your dealers? Will it free you up? I'm going to guess the answer to that is yes, but I'll get a more specific answer from you when we come back. What would life look like for manufacturers and dealers with an ATF back in the rearview mirror? Remember the days, guys? How will you feel about that? Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues. 2 more segments with Brad, Neil, and Justin. We'll be right back. The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back to Car Firearms Group Studios. Mark Walters hanging out with you today on hundreds of radio stations across the nation and a bunch of social media platforms. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you're just joining us, welcome in. I would highly recommend you go back and grab the podcast. Just real simple. Just download or subscribe, I should say, to Armed American Radio on your favorite podcast platform. We are just shy of our 21 millionth download. That's huge. 16 years on the nation's airwaves, and we appreciate it. We appreciate our partners that make it all possible every single day. Sitting here in front of the Sig Sauer powerful microphone. It's all being brought to you by X Insurance at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Make sure to visit all of our partners. You can find them all at Armed American Radio, ArmedAmericanRadio.com, including Emerson Knives, Defender Coffee, all of them. They're right there for you. Make sure to check them out. Patriots Relief. If you're an old person and you wake up with it, you don't have to be an old person. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm talking about myself. Pain relief over there, sleep, man, they got you covered. PatriotsRelief.com. Use the AAR promo code, knock 40% off right away. Welcome back in, guys. Justin, let me go back to you. How would it look to you as a manufacturer with ATF gone? Let's just say ATF is gone. They've been sucked up by the FBI. What does that do to you as a manufacturer and to dealers across this country? Not just you as a manufacturer, but all manufacturers. Give us some insight on that. How will things change?
It depends on how they dismantled the ATF. I mean, if they dismantle it in a way like shredding all the 473s they've collected from dealers that they've closed, destroying the gun registry, and getting rid of FFL licenses and saying that it's just you can manufacture based on constitutionality, then, we'll be free. But, it really depends on how they get rid of this beast.
Yeah, and look, it's a huge bureaucratic mess. There's no question about it, Neil. But how would that work? Can you give us some insight into how you think it would be swallowed whole?
Well, you could just, there's a ton of different departments in the DOJ, and I don't know if you necessarily want to fold it into the FBI, but there are different parts of DOJ. You just make it just make it another department. And then eventually what you would do is just create sort of, just create special FBI agents that are focusing on weapons charges and things. But the ATF is a ridiculous agency. It was, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms are three things that are legal in this country still, right? And that's the ultimate absurdity of this agency. And of all the federal law enforcement agencies, there isn't a single one that has as much corruption or malfeasance or just horrible, horrible stories of just, we could do a whole show on all of the crazy, not just setting people up, not just Waco, but just actually so many times these agents have caught themselves in literally in sex scandals, and it's just the culture at the ATF is just so broken and so toxic and so poisonous that just the whole crew, it needs to be cleared out, and the only way to do that is just sort of save the name and then just wash everything else out. I'm going through when Pamela Hicks resigned and she posted it on LinkedIn. So I read her statement, and then I saw all the comments from all the people who worked with her telling her how fantastic she was, and all these other people. There's all these other people inside ATF who think she was fantastic, and then there's all these other people who are now defense lawyers who worked at ATF, and so their clients get the sweetheart deal. So the moron who's at the who's just trying to run a business out of his van and travels around to gun shows, that guy is going to get clobbered, right? But if you're some rich guy, or you have, you're a big client with one of these big chains, you just hire a former ATF lawyer to represent you, and you can practically do whatever you want. The whole system is just so corrupt, and that's why, you take a guy like Cash Patel. Cash Patel was a staffer on Devin Nunes's Intel committee. And Devin Nunes, I'm very close to a guy who was Devin Nunes's body man. He later became his deputy chief of staff. It's like Devin Nunes in 2016, Devin Nunes and his staff, they were not necessarily MAGA, and they certainly weren't necessarily conservative. And all Devin Nunes really cared about was being on the Ways and Means Committee, and he just happened to be on the Intel Committee, and as a favor to Paul Ryan, he took on the chairmanship of the Intel Committee. None of these guys were triggered. None of these guys were warriors. And what happened is they started stumbling upon this stuff, and Cash Patel was the guy who wrote the Devin Nunes report. And it's like they got so much interference. They got so much blowback. They were treated so poorly. There's a phrase that Steve Bannon used at CPAC when he was talking about these guys who were pardoned, the J6s who were pardoned and who are now just tougher than ever. And he basically said, when they sent you to jail, they sent you to gladiator school. And that's what happened to all these people. Cash Patel has been to gladiator school. And it's like they should have never let him out of his cage, because he's just going to go after him.
Yeah, I've spoken with him personally, and I can tell you I'm excited to see what he does. Brad Primo, is there, under any circumstance whatsoever, that you can see the ATF actually doing the work of the Constitution on behalf of gun owners? Now, that's hard to ask that with a straight face, okay? Because if there's not, get them out of there.
I mean, I think that's the whole point. I can't really think of any way that the ATF helps gun owners. They don't help us exercise our rights. They are an impediment to exercising our rights, and everything that they do related to firearms is set up and designed to make it more difficult for American citizens to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Full stop. That's the long and short of it. There's no justification for it other than the fact that they are there to keep you from being able to exercise your rights. They got to go. The one thing I can think of that they do that's just not even firearms related, probably the capability they want to hang on to when they fold them in the FBI is the ATF is an excellent arson investigators. They are top notch when it comes to arson. That's a level of expertise and an area of expertise that you're going to want to maintain. But you know what? Make it a part of the FBI. When it comes to enforcing the law, when it comes to going after criminals, the FBI can do that. That's their whole purpose. So when you stand up an organization like the ATF, they're only there to go after people who are just trying to basically mind their business and exercise their rights. There's no other reason for them, because otherwise they should be chasing criminals like the FBI are, like the FBI does.
Justin, before we go to the break, any circumstance where the ATF, and by the way, guys, just to set you up, just so you know, when we come back, we're going to go through some Giffords tweets because they're really fun, and I want to get your guys' comments on some of the tweets that I read that Giffords puts out, because they just they show their faces every single day. They got nothing, and their desperation is palpable when you read their stuff online. But Justin, is there any possibility that the ATF could be flipped, that the script could be flipped, that they actually work on behalf of the people, or is it just too late?
I think we need to get rid of a lot of these federal investigative and police agencies. What's more important for the American people is liberty, freedom from law enforcement. So let's keep our guns pointed outwards to enemies abroad rather than pointing guns at us, the people of the United States of America.
I'll leave it at that when we go to the break. Weaponized agencies for sure. When we come back from this break, final segment, we're going to go through some Giffords tweets for you. Read for you some of the things that the anti-gunners are saying, well, because they're on defense now and we're on offense. Let's see how they're handling that, and we'll get some commentary from both Brad, Neil, and Justin, all three, here in a Classic Armed American Radio Roundtable. We have one segment to go. 4 minutes from now, we'll be back. Don't go away. Thanks for tuning in on all the affiliates around the nation. We appreciate it. We'll be back right after the break.
Their arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of Armed American Radio's huge monster cast, being heard on hundreds of radio stations around the nation, multiple social media platforms. We appreciate you being here today. I hope you're enjoying the show as much as we're enjoying bringing it to you. It seems like it just flies right by. There's never enough time to get to everything we want to, but that's okay. We have a good time on the program, and like I said, I hope you're having a great time as well. It's a fun show, and we appreciate it. April 26th marks on the nation's airwaves, and sometime in April we're going to get some pretty big news about just how big Armed American Radio is and what it means out there, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you that when it happens. We'll talk about that down the road, but you're back in the Car Firearms Group studios with me. I'm sitting in front of the 6-hour mic here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. It's all being brought to you by X Insurance. None of it's possible without our partners, so please support them all. And let's go back to the table. Guys, I want to start with some tweets from the Giffords organization. And we're just going to go down these, and I'm going to read them to you as they appear. And let's just try to see if we can see a narrative forming here. About 11 hours ago, Giffords tweeted, 5 years ago today, Ahmaud Arbery went for a jog and never came home. He was shot and killed by racist vigilantes who falsely claimed self-defense. He should still be here, and we will keep fighting for justice and change in his honor. Now, that, to me, when I read that, begs the following question. We ended with Justin in the last segment. Neil, I'll go to you here. What change? Being a racist vigilante, murdering someone, is already against the law. What change is Giffords looking for?
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what new law you need. Hate crimes always seem bizarre to me, because the idea that someone could murder me but liked me, as opposed to if someone murdered me and hated me, they would get a worse punishment. I'd still be dead, and it's still a crime. But these are the games that the left plays, and and I'm sorry. I certainly understand that she's gone through tremendous struggles, and I understand that she had a very promising career stolen from her, and she's trying to remain positive, and this is how she does it. I just wish that she would do it in a way that was a little less damaging to safety in this country. And maybe, unfortunately, the people that she gets her money from are people who hate Americans and want them disarmed.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. Brad, I'm going to give you another one here. This is the one just below it from Giffords yesterday. A police officer was killed and 5 other people were wounded this morning when a man took medical personnel hostage at a hospital in York, Pennsylvania. I know that area well. I got my first job out of college and lived in York for 3 years. It was a fun area to live, albeit a little strange. I'll leave it at that. I don't mean anything negative by that. I just wasn't used to it, folks. Hospitals should be places of healing, not violence. This shouldn't keep happening. Brad, this seems like a little bit of wishful thinking here, and along the lines of the first tweet that I just read, it is illegal against every law known to us in the United States to walk into a hospital and take personnel hostage and want to shoot the place up. Now, when Gifford says hospitals should be places of healing, not violence, this shouldn't keep happening. What are they telling us?
I mean, to me, it's kind of a whole lot of nothing. But the point is, and you said it earlier, which is all that stuff's already illegal. And when you have people saying this kind of stuff, the one question they never have an answer to, or they won't answer it honestly, is how would another law have prevented this? And they know that's not the case. What they're really advocating for, what they're really implying is that they need confiscation, is what they're implying. Because, they're going to say, well, another gun law, we need to pass more laws to make it harder to get these weapons or do whatever. That's still not going to prevent anything from happening, because there's always going to be bad people in this world. They're always going to find some way to hurt people, right? And so what they're really advocating for with gun control is straight-up confiscation and the complete disarming of our society. That's what they're really saying. They just won't say it out loud.
Well, we already know that to be the case. If you go back to the conversations, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been tuned in for the entire show, and over the last couple of months, we've spent a lot of time on what's happening in Colorado, which is exactly what they're trying to do. Is exactly what Brad said. Every step they can to take your guns. Now, Justin, to go to you, I'm just going to read this one, but then I want to go to the one below it because it's about January 6th, and I think that's right up your alley. But before I do, attention teen writers. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America, which, by the way, has been debunked, ladies and gentlemen. We've done it multiple times on the program here with AAR Hawkins and with Dr. John Lott. Continuing with the tweet. That's unacceptable, and your voices deserve to be heard. Submit a 10-minute play to @EnoughPlays for a chance to have your story told nationwide. Learn more at enoughplays.com/writing. Now, Justin, I'll just throw this out. The reason I mention that is because we know they're in this for the long game, and this is the way to continue to go after youth, to turn them against Americans and their gun rights and gun owners. I'll just leave it at that and go to the next one. Today, January 6th, rioters returned to the Capitol chanting, "Whose house?" Today, January 6th, rioters, let me read it that way, returned to the Capitol chanting, "Whose house? Our house." Yesterday, Trump cleared insurrectionists of even more crimes, including illegal gun possession and drug dealing. How is this making America safer, is what they ask. Justin, take it away.
Oh, January 6th was the second American Tea Party, and that's exactly what the crowd chanted on that day. Whose house? Our house. It was the people taking back our house.
Neil, Giffords on February 20th. The Senate confirmed Cash Patel, the least qualified FBI director in history. Patel is a far-right conspiracy theorist with close ties to gun lobby radicals who oppose background checks on gun sales, which he now oversees. This is a grave danger to public safety.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, we've had some real highly qualified FBI directors who have been horrible at their job. And Comey was a former U.S. attorney,
that guy,
a former senior official in the Justice Department, had a phenomenal resume for being an FBI director, but he was also toxic and crazy. But I do want to, I know you asked Justin about it, but I was actually with the J6ers on the Capitol when they returned. There was it Friday, and I actually interviewed Enrique Terrio for Red State about his arrest, and that's so. Let me just plug my Red State article. He was released, and he thinks the charges will be dropped, but there was someone harassing him, and he swatted away her phone, and so they just immediately pounced and cuffed the guy. But those 36ers have been through hell, and it's like I think about them the way I think about the Cubans we abandoned at the Bay of Pigs on that beach.
Unbelievable stuff. Guys, we're getting ready to end this hour. I will just leave us with this one here. Cash Patel is wholly unfit to lead the nation's top law enforcement agency. We'll do everything we can to hold him accountable and keep Americans safe. Yeah, that's what Giffords is going to do. The gaslighting continues, ladies and gentlemen, from the gun grabbers and the left. It is not going to get any better. It is not going to go away. They are going to continue to come after you at every twist and turn. And when they feel the next tragedy is the right one, they're going to pounce like a mountain lion and go after Republicans like you've never seen. And they'll do it with help from, albeit a weakened media, but they will still do it with help from the media. Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers, thank you for being here, my brother. Always a pleasure. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms, thank you for being here. Looking forward to seeing you in just a matter of weeks at the National Rifle Association meetings in Atlanta. And Neil McCabe from redstate.com. You can read everything Neil writes at redstate.com. That's redstate.com as he loses his Boston accent. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is going to get up and do it again tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time to 5, 1 p.m. Pacific Time until 2. Until then, enjoy your day. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow.
You've just filled.
Okay, guys, tomorrow, big day coming up, 9:30. Hopefully tomorrow morning we will know 9:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time. That is a.m. tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time, what the disposition is of the Snopes, Maryland, Fourth Circuit assault weapons ban case at the Supreme Court. One of three things is going to happen. They're going to grant that case cert and not vacate it and remand it back, but actually take the case this time in light of what happened in the Fourth Circuit. They're going to deny it, or they're going to put it off until the next session or another conference. Hopefully they take the case. I remain very optimistic about that, just a gut feeling, and I hope I'm right about that. But anyway, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, that's no doubt what we'll be talking about as long as the information is available to us. That will be the topic of conversation. So until then, enjoy your day. Stay safe, guys. We'll see you on the radio. Thanks for tuning in. Love each and every one of you. As I said, stay safe out there. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever left his cave without his club. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, guys.